All right. Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Davon Rees, and I am one third of Next Gen in Lodging. And I have a special guest today, Calvin Stovall. And we are going to be talking about his new book as he take us through the history of Black hotels. Um, and it just came out, and I'm excited about this conversation because my two favorite passions, history and hotels. And even to get more specific, Black history and then the history of Black owned hotels. And so Calvin put together a whole book about the hidden treasures and hidden hospitality. So without further ado, Calvin, welcome to Next Gen Lodging, and we would love for you to tell us, for one, introduce yourself and let us know about your book.
Oh, wow. I'm excited. I'm truly excited to be here, Davon. Thank you so much for inviting me. And just like you, I'm exactly like that. I have a love for Black history and a love for Black hotels, which is pretty much why this book came to be. Before I get into that, let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. I am a hotelie through and through. I've been in the hospitality industry for a long time. Okay. Started as a desk clerk at a Holiday Inn in downtown Chicago. Worked in other various hotels, and I'm from Chicago, so I have an undergraduate degree from Chicago State University. And what ended up happening, try to squeeze this story down really short. I actually ended up going to graduate school at Cornell at the hotel school there, and then beyond after that graduation, I ended up working for what was then Promise Companies, which is now Hilton Corporation. So worked on a property on Embassy Suites as an assistant general manager a couple of years, then transitioned into corporate and worked in research a couple of years, but eventually over time became the vice president of brand marketing for Homewood Suites by Hilton, and did that for a little bit, but also have some some nonprofit experience. So I've worked as a brand strategist with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, their fundraising arm, which is called ALSAC. And another one of my favorite jobs, I was the CEO of a nonprofit in Memphis, Tennessee, called the Soulsville Foundation, which was built out of the former Stax Records recording studio. On that campus is the Stax Museum of American Soul Music. They have the Soulsville Charter School and also an after-school music program for youth where they teach kids how to play instruments, and it's a fabulous thing to see a bunch of teenagers playing the theme from Shaft. It's an amazing thing to see. So now on my own company called Iconic Presentations. I do keynotes on customer experience and leadership for organizations, hospitality, healthcare, real estate management, and I also serve as a director of executive programs for an organization called the Advanced Leadership Institute based in Pittsburgh. And we prepare African Americans and their allies for C-suite positions. We have a partnership in a program in partnership with Carnegie Mellon University, Tipper School of Business. So I am all over the place, but having a blast. So excited about my book, which is called Hidden Hospitality: Untold Stories of Black Hotel, Motel, and Resort Owners from the Pioneer Days to the Civil Rights Era. Devon, it is a coffee table book, which makes it a lot more immersive. There's pictures in here, probably about 150 photographs in here. And the book, most of the photographs are black and white, of course, because the book starts in late 1700s. It goes all the way through, of course, the Jim Crow era, Harlem Renaissance, all the way through the Civil Rights era. And then there's a last chapter in there where I talk about current Black hotel owners or those that are impacting the hospitality industry. Of course, yours truly, Davon, is in there, as well as Sheila Johnson and some of the others out there making an impact in the industry. So it's a pretty big book. It's about 305 pages. A lot of those pages are the resources I looked at to get this book put together. But it's been a wonderful journey. Truly excited that it's out. We launched the book in October 21st. And I held my launch at the historic Magnolia House, which is in Greensboro, North Carolina, Natalie Miller, who's a great hostess there and owns the property there. Just wonderful opportunity to launch the book there in that historic space like that. And so I'm out now doing a book tour, and so stopping at places to share this story around this book. So I'm so excited to be able to do this with you today, Devon.
Wow, thank you, Calvin. Wow, amazing. And jack of all trades, you're all things hospitality.
Yes, I
So,
am.
what gave you the idea to put this book together?
Wow. It's of course it is a labor of love, and I just believe there is so little known about our impact on the industry because there's so little written. And so my drive for doing it, at least getting it to this point, it's actually some history to it, Davon. When I was in graduate school at Cornell, I met a gentleman. He was an undergrad, and a guy who actually is the CEO of the Advanced Leadership Institute now, Evan Frazier, and I think it was him and three other people. They were launching an organization called the National Society of Minority Hoteliers. They were the founders there at Cornell, and Evan, who was one of the chairs with the group, he asked me to do some research on Black hotels from a historic perspective, as because they were having their first conference, or one of them, I think it was their first or second conference, and he asked me, he said, I would love for you to do a presentation on it. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I took the project on, and I was looking at, oh man, some very old articles, periodicals and I know you probably have a lot of young listeners on looking at something on microfiche. Uh, the little, I won't even get into the description of those things, but it was a very old method of looking up research, but I found enough information to put a presentation together. But what really happened is I got so intrigued by it, it became my graduate monograph. So to graduate, you had to do a document. It was not nearly as difficult as a thesis, but you had to put together a pretty decent document. And so it became a monograph. And at the time, it was called Hospitality Historiography. And so when you graduate, they put your document in a black binder with some gold lettering on the front. Beautiful piece. This was around the mid 90s. Now, fast forward all the way to about 2020. I was cleaning out some boxes. That was during a crazy COVID time and pandemic. And I was cleaning out some boxes and I found the monograph. I was like so surprised that I was like, oh my God, my monograph is here. And so it was a friend of mine here at Devon, and she asked me what was that I had. I said, this is my monograph. And she was like, what is it about? I was like, it's about Black hotel ownership. It starts like late 1700s, goes through civil rights. She was like, what? She's like, we owned hotels back then? There's no way. And I was like, yeah, we did. And so
Yeah.
she's like, let me see that.
Hmm.
And so she starts going through it, and I can see her eyes like, oh my God. And so she looks at me and she was like, is this a book? And I said, not yet. And that's pretty much how it started. Um,
Wow. Wow. I was actually in college. I was a part of the National Society of Hospitality, National Society of Minorities and Hospitality.
yep,
That
yep,
being a part of that organization, changed my life. Gave me lifelong friends. It definitely changed the trajectory um, of my hospitality career. I didn't while I was part of it, I didn't know I was going to be in hotel ownership,
right.
but but just being a part of that organization is just definitely the catalyst to where I am. So it's beautiful how, and you mentioned how people were shocked that we own hotels in the 1700s, and I
Yeah.
love that because I always thought it was the 1800s. So now you're educating me. But a lot of people, when I talk to people, they think that we just started owning hotels. They think like I'm the first black I'm like, oh no, nah, baby. No,
I
no,
know.
no, no. This no, 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 no,
Right.
no. This
Yeah.
what we're doing is what I'm talking about is nothing new. Because at one point we couldn't even stay at hotels unless they were black owned
You
hotels.
got that right. You got that right. And that's the whole thing. I mean, that when you look at it, um, you're right. We couldn't stay in white owned hotels. It's just not, it wasn't going to happen. So we had no choice. We were kind of coerced and forced to build these spaces for us. And And we've been doing it for a long time. We are standing on the shoulders of people that have been doing this for a very long time. And but the thing is, you just didn't know about it. So I thought this book, no, I know this book is going to open up the eyes of a lot of people. And I mean, a lot of people know about our history around, slavery and all of that. And yes, that we people need to know that. It's a very important part. But this part too is very important, because we laid the foundation for an industry that is still here today. But again, a lot of people did not know that, and so I'm just glad I was able to and blessed to be able to make this contribution to American history, because Black history is American
Abs-
history.
Absolutely. So, like, what was your methodology, right? Like, where did you want to take us through like a time travel, meaning like, okay, I'm gonna start with the 1700s. I want to incorporate women. I want to do like, what was your thought process of putting the book together?
Yes, I think what you described is what I wanted to do. I wanted to give you a chronological walk through Black history from a hospitality lens. That's exactly what this book is. Um, so if and it has all that in there. Of course, this book, like I said, it's about 305 pages. So um, I'm sure there's going to be people that going to go through the book and be like, "Why this hotel isn't in there?" I couldn't put them all in there. But what I tried to do is to give you a great glimpse of where we were from a Black history and hospitality lens, depending on a specific era. So it's broken down by, just to give you an idea of how it's broken down. And you're right, I wanted to give a chronological walk. My developmental editor, who when he got the manuscript, he asked me that question. He said, Calvin, we can do this book two ways. You can do it as like a story, like a chronological walk where people are walking through each of these eras, or you could do it as an encyclopedia, like this is the person, this is when they were born, this is a little bit next person. I was like, no, I don't want an encyclopedia. I want people to walk through and experience it. Since it's a photograph, so photographs are in here, this gives me an opportunity to really paint a really pretty picture of what's going on. So the chapters are broken down kind of in that way. It starts, the first chapter is Black Pioneers of Hospitality. So I go through in the beginning, which is, starting with uh, Miss Pringle, starts in their program. And then I go into Hospitality Trailblazers of the West, and then Black hoteliers of the late 19th century. And then I go into Hospitality Across the Color Line, Sunshine and Jim Crow. I have another chapter called Summer, Sand, and Segregation by the Sea. I do cover resorts in here as well, because we had this we couldn't go everywhere on the beach either. There were specific sections where only blacks can go. There was Chicken Bone Beach in Atlantic City. That was our spot. So I talk a lot about that, and then I go into Black hoteliers in the turn of the century. Um, I talk about the Harlem Renaissance era, what happened with Hotel Teresa in New York City, the Olga Hotel. I cover all of those things, and then I go specifically into Miami. A lot went on in Miami. Of course, you know about the Hampton House there, but there was a lot of other, what's called Overtown now, what used to be called Color Town. I mean, it's so I really wanted to give people an understanding of what transpired. And then the Green Book era, of course, a lot of people know about the Green Book. And everybody always asks me, is the Green Book in there? I couldn't have no way written this book without the Green Book in there. But it is a piece of the history here. And then I go into Atlantic City and Las Vegas, because it was very segregated there. And we had a lot of hotels that we had to stay in. And then I go into the civil rights era with Jim Crow across along the highways, motels, and all of that. And then the last chapter is beginning of a new era, where I talk about some of the hotels where they are today, gone but not forgotten, and then I move into hoteliers of today. So it's a well-rounded, well, I think so anyway, a well-rounded book, and I hope readers will as well. But I think when you walk away from it, what you will realize is that our footprint has been on this industry a very long time, and it's a more inspirational book too, because what you will find is there are several black millionaires in there,
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like
A-
Church Reed and some of the other folks. Um, it's amazing. It's
oh,
amazing.
absolutely. Because it was more so just making it, just providing a comfortable place to stay for Black people, right? And I
Hmm.
was watching, so I think you and I talked about this before. I have a passion for documentaries.
Yes.
I love documentaries. Okay, look, I'll pick up a documentary before I pick up a book. I know it's horrible, but I love me a documentary. And
I'm a
so,
visual person too, so I get it. I really do. I get it.
so I was watching this documentary. I don't even know if it was a documentary, but it was a story about blacks in Las Vegas.
Mm.
And they talk about, and I know this is in your book, they talk about how, the performers couldn't stay at the casinos or the establishment that they were performing at, right? They had to
Mhm.
go
Right.
across town and
Yep.
stay at a boarding house. They couldn't even go,
Mhm.
they had to go through the back door, and it wasn't for folks like, or supporters like,
Mhm.
Frank Sinatra, who would say, hey, if Sammy Davis Jr. can't stay here, then I'm not performing. So,
Yes.
basically advocating. And then it was one thing that really stuck out, to me. It was the owners of, or the owners of, I believe, the Moulin Rouge Hotel. They was
Yes.
the first hotel to allow, they it would know, even though it was white owned, but it was like the first hotel to allow Black people to stay there.
Yes.
That was white
Yes.
owned. And they said something that the owners are like, they were like, I don't know if they were racist, but they saw green, and they knew that Black people had money to spend. And so they
Mhm.
saw it as a business opportunity.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
same thing that we see, because, as you know, I think the last study, what over what $150 billion, I believe, close to that number. I know it was definitely more than 109, but over, I think, I forgot the exact number. I think it's like over 120 billion of money that Black people spend in the hospitality,
Yep.
regarding travel,
Yep.
hotels. But yet we own less than 2% of the over 59,000 hotels in the United States.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that all of that is all that you talk about is in the book.
It's in the book.
It's in the book. And actually, Joe Lewis, when you talk about the Moulin Rouge, um, Joe Lewis, who was the former heavyweight boxer, he was black. He did have a small percentage of ownership in that casino. Um,
Yeah.
Sadly, it didn't last long though.
Right. It didn't last. Well,
It
they were
didn't-
making too much money.
Yeah, it didn't
They
last
they
long.
they were taking away the money from
Yep,
the other
yep,
folks.
yep. And so, yeah, I got a whole section in there about the Moulin Rouge, and then I also talk about how they desegregated it, and a lady who kind of headed that whole thing. I can't remember. I think her name was something. I think it was Hattie was her name. But it was a man. It was going to be a really bad situation. But they were able to desegregate everything before it became really ugly. Um, but yeah, you're right. The 2%, all I mean, I talk about all of that, and I always get this question, Davon, and you know, because they always ask me where are all these hotels now that are in this book. Of course, 99% of them are no longer here, and the situation is a complex one. In 1964, when they signed the Civil Rights Act, when Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, what that did is open the doors for African Americans and blacks to stay wherever they wanted to, right? So they were like, okay, I've been staying in this black hotel, but now I can go over here to these white hotels and I'm gone. So what happened is it abandoned a lot of these properties, um, and they fell under because they relied so much on black patronage and they couldn't survive. They weren't going to get a loan to refurbish it, so they either ended up getting raised, or they got converted to office buildings, senior homes, or whatever. But so I always get that question, Calvin: what did the Civil Rights Act help or hurt black enterprise? And I say, hey, look, progress is progress. You can't change the past, but I also really wish that we would have stopped for a moment to say, hey, because when you think about all the generational wealth that was lost, tons, tons of it,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know? John Rogers,
I was just about to say that, with the
yeah,
Stratford Hotel.
yeah, yeah, John Rogers. That he was, he's the what is the CEO of Ariel Investment.
Hmm.
Um, he, I think it was his great grandfather or grandfather, or something.
Great, great. I think it was his great great
I think it was
grandfather.
his great great grandfather. He owned the Stratford in Tulsa, and it got burned down. And that's how I reached out to him, because I saw him on a podcast or something. He was talking about the generational wealth that was lost because of that situation. But as you go through this book, it probably is 50 or 60 so different Black owned hotels in here. Just imagine where we'd be
Oh
if they were
yeah.
still here, Devon, you know?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. The brands that would have been created. Now,
Yeah.
how did you? Cause how did you gather the information to put the book together?
Oh man, it was that was a process.
I
So
know that took a long time. How long did it take?
oh man, well, if you think about it, I mean, I had the monograph, right? But that was about it might have been 10,000 words, if that, to maybe 12, something like that. So when I went to my publisher, Brown Books, with the monograph with the original idea, she was like, "Oh, this is going to be fabulous." She said, "But you need more words. You need to get to at least 20,000 or so to make a really substantial book." Um, so she was like, "Can you get more information?" I was like, Let me look, let me find out." Because remember, I started this in the late 90s, so it wasn't a whole lot out there. But now a lot of stuff is digitized. And fortunately, I had my bibliography from the monograph. So some of those articles, stuff you can't even find anymore. So basically, I once I got done with all that research, um, I went back with a manuscript that was probably almost 90,000 words. And then I had a problem. My editors was like, "There's no way you can use all this info." So there's a lot of hotels. I mean, I had to take out some stuff to get it down to a manageable size. The editing process was just very difficult, because it's almost like somebody saying, "Pick your favorite child," and
I'm
just put you,
sure.
so you have to take some stuff out, because they were like, "Calvin, you can't tell all this stuff." So basically what we did is we tried to identify, first of all, could I find photographs with the story? Um, that was the thing. Could I get authorization to use the photograph in the book?
Yeah.
That was part of it. And then the other part was, since I couldn't talk about all of them, let's try to identify hotels that either were the first in a city or made a significant contribution to something, or people that that were either millionaires, or just had a fascinating story. So that was it. So it was kind of a combination of things. It just really that pulled it all together, because you did have, like, some hotels in here, a very short. They might have a very short story, and then you can't find much more on them. So if they were like a significant contributor to something, I might just put a mention in there. But if I can't find enough to make a juicy story, and really create a nice narrative in there, I may not put them in there, because most of the stories in here, they're usually the owner, or how the hotel was built, or the story of the hotel is really what's in here to capture attention of readers. You know,
Mhm.
so that's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
it's all about the story. No, I think it's needed, especially now. Like I said, I'm a big history buff. Meaning, if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going.
absolutely.
Every time I talk to people, it's like owning a hotel is foreign for black
Mm,
people. And it shouldn't be, because to your point, it was only, especially during the civil rights movement and during the Green Book era, as our good friend Omari Head would say, you know, black people, we were the original Airbnb,
yes,
right?
ma'am.
Because
Yep.
at one point, as you know, in the Green Book, they would rent out their homes. They would rent out
Mhm.
their rooms for people who were traveling from the north to the south and vice versa, because we
Yes, ma'am.
couldn't stay at black owned hotels. So a lot of times, we think we're coming up with something new and we're really not reinventing the wheel. But
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
because we don't know our history,
That's
right?
right.
We
That's
don't know
right.
our history. So I'm really glad that you took the time to put together this book, because I know it took a lot of time. I know.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to put the book together?
Well, if you don't include the monograph, I would say, I mean, I just launched. I would probably say close to 4.5 years, about something like that, 4.5 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but it was so much information that you had to find, and it's a lot of the hotels. Like there's a I have a crowdfunding platform, Investor,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the deals on the site, it's actually, it used to be a black owned hotel by a woman across the street from downtown, in downtown Jacksonville, across the street from the courthouse. It used to
Mm,
be a black owned hotel in the La Villa area in
mm.
Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, what's that lady? I know who you're talking about. I
Dr.
know
V,
exactly.
Dr.
Doctor.
Valisi
Yep,
Elmo.
yep, yep,
And
yep.
so you have a lot of these buildings that used to be hotels, but throughout, the time frame, it got lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of black owned hotels, which I'm sure you mentioned in the book, um, a lot of them had to shut down because once integration happened, we
Mm-hmm.
started to stay at the hotels that we couldn't stay at before.
Right, right,
And
exactly.
so a lot of the black owned hotels, like it was the one in Charleston and several
Mm-hmm.
other hotels that had to close down because
Mm-hmm.
they just couldn't compete.
Right, exactly. Yep, just like I said, and they tried to hang on, but
Yeah,
hey, you need money. You need money.
you need money,
People
and
are gonna get a yeah.
you need people to stay there. And then there's
Mhm.
some black owned hotels that they don't want people to know that it's black owned.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That
I'm sure that was
yep.
challenging. Or people they didn't want, I'm sure you wanted to, publish and add them to the book, and they're like, nah, it's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's another thing that people don't might not realize. In this book, I have black-owned hotels where blacks could stay, of course, where blacks had to stay. Then I have some white-owned hotels where blacks had to stay. It's only a few of those, like the Hampton House.
Mhm.
But then I have black-owned hotels where 99% of their patronage was white.
Mm.
Yes, like the Hotel Barry in Athens. His guests were pretty much all white. Now he didn't
In
turn
Athens, Georgia.
Athens, Ohio.
Athens, Ohio. Okay.
Yep. And his hotel is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. But he was actually reputed to be the first to put hangers in closets,
Oh wow.
Put Bibles in the rooms. Him and his wife used to get people's clothes and repair them and put them back in the room. He never accepted tips. That's what I'm saying. There's so much stuff in here. People are going to be like, "Whoa,
Right. It's needed.
whoa, yeah, yeah."
It's needed. It's needed. It's needed. So Calvin, so how can people find you, and how can people buy a copy of the book or buy copies of the book?
Yes, it's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes& and Noble website, all of that. But if you buy it from my website, which is Calvin Stovall, that's CalvinStov, as in victory, ALL.com, there is a button there you can buy through PayPal, and that helps me get more of my book profit if you buy directly through that site.
Oh, okay. So go to Calvin Stovall, go to your website and to buy
Yes.
directly from you.
Yep, calvinstovall.com. It still comes through my publisher, I mean, my distributor, but
Right, right, right.
get a keeper. Amazon's gonna get their piece, and
Oh,
everybody, you know.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand.
But
No,
so,
we understand it. No, appreciate that for sharing. Now, are you on social media? How can people
yes,
stay
yes.
connected with you?
Yes, you can stay connected. I'm on LinkedIn. You can look me up. You can find me pretty easy. I'm pretty active on social. I have an IG. You find me at Iconic Speaker, or if you look up, I just put another one up there called Hidden Hospitality Book. Um, and I'm just starting to do some stuff there, particularly during this book tour. So yeah, I'm out there. I'm out there.
Wonderful. So people want to stay connected with you and find out where your next stop, they can go to your website and they can just follow
Yes,
you
yes,
on
we get
LinkedIn.
yep, we can yeah, or you can look on LinkedIn, or because I usually post it up there as well. But we're getting ready to update the site with some new places I'm going to. So yes, you can find it there as well. Or you can email me if you want to know more. I'm at Calvin at Iconic Presentations, all one word with an S.net. That's Calvin at iconicpresentations.net.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much, Calvin, for stopping by at Next Gen and Lodging. Thank you all so much to our listeners. I can't believe it is about to be 2026 already. I felt
Oh,
like we
sweet.
just celebrated 20 the
Right.
new year of 2025. If you haven't already, please go support Calvin, and check him out and see if he's coming to a city near you to support and to hear these wonderful stories. This has just been an amazing time to talk about my two favorite subjects, history and hotels. And Calvin did an amazing job of combining both.
Thank
Um, this
thank
has just been a great conversation. We could literally go on and talk about this for hours,
you. So,
but
yeah.
literally
Yeah,
we
we
could.
could, we could.
We really could, because I'll be like, wait, what? And what? No, but this is amazing. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in. And we will see you all on next time. I'm Davon Reeves, 1/3 of Next Gen Lodging. The other 2/3 of my fabulous co-host is Christopher Henry of Majestic Hospitality, and Amari Head, who is the executive director of the Marriott Sorensen Leadership for Hospitality at Howard University. And again, I'm Davon Reese, CEO and founder of Vester, and president and founder of the Vine Group. All right. You all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season.
Yes. Thank you, Davon. Really grateful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm co-stars Jan Freitag.
And I'm STR's Isaac Colazo. Together, we are the data geeks behind the award-winning podcast Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast from CoStar News.
Award-winning. And if you love hotel performance data and industry trends as much as we do, check us out.
We laugh, we argue, and we always come up with fresh takes on the data and hotel industry topics that help you do business.
Hey, when Isaac and I start talking about data together, anything can happen, and anything usually does.
Find us on costar.com/hotel news and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen. Just search for Tell Me More, and thank you for listening.
This episode of Next Gen Lodging was recorded in November 2025 by Davon Reeves and edited by Rachel Daub. Look for this and more at costar.com/hotel news.